So while it's pissing down rain outside, I just wanted to do a brief video on my three main hunting knives that I use. These three knives always come with me. They're all fixed blades. The reason I like that, I mean, I've tried the Havalons and the Outdoor Edges and things like that, and they're great to a point, but there's a lot of times where just a fixed blade is so much nicer to use and so much easier to handle, especially when breaking down sambar deer, which I'm predominantly hunting. So I got all of them off trailhiker.com.au. Absolutely awesome website where it's run by someone that does a lot of hunting and is very experienced in this sort of area. And if you've got any questions on knives or anything, yeah, hit Jay up because he's a wealth of knowledge, and he sort of helped me decide on these three knives for what I wanted to do in my type of hunting. At the moment, there's no other system I'd rather be running, or no other knife I'd rather be running. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with my most used knife. It is the EKA G3 Swingblade. This knife lives on my bino harness. And as you can see, it's a little bit dirty. But it's a Swingblade design. That's their own design by EKA. Press this button in. It's a little bit stiff because I use it so bloody much. And then it comes out with this skinning section here, which just goes under your initial cut, and it just glides along through there. And I have not touched this up, and that is still sharp. Overall length is 215mm. Blade length is 100mm. The zip blade is 80mm. So this part here is 80mm. The blade steel is Sandvik 12C27, which I don't know what that means, and I don't know the hardness of it, but I can tell you out of these three knives here, it is the least hard. It's the easiest to get an edge on, but it's also the quickest knife to lose its edge, so that's something to keep in mind. Sheath here is made out of Cordura. The weight with the sheath is 134 grams, and the warranty is 10 years. And some of the reasons I really like this knife is probably more so to do with the sheath, but also having this zip blade, if I can get it open. Like I said, this is my most used knife. I've probably cut up, it'd be over 100 deer, I reckon, now with this blade. And my brother has the exact same setup on his bino harness as well, just because, as you can see, it just attaches so well with this sheath. The knife just lives in there. It's got a little button clip here to lock it into place. And if you dump your pack or anything like that, you've always got your knife there. So it just goes in like this. Lock it into place. Happy days. Decent sized handle, as you can see. A little bit of texture on there. It's nice and grippy. And I have a decent sized hand, and the handle just fits absolutely beautifully, like you can see that there. Very nice little knife. No complaints. Next up, we have the Benchmade Steep Country. This is a lighter knife. A little bit more premium. A little bit more expensive. But very, very nice. Got a good edge on it. It's a drop point fixed blade. Overall length 197mm. Blade length's 90mm. The blade's made out of S30V stainless, so it is good quality steel. A little bit harder to get an edge on than the EKA, but will hold an edge longer. The handle is made out of santoprene. And the sheath is Boltaren. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's, you know, durable. It's a little bit noisy compared to the Cordura on the EKA, but still a decent sized handle. Got ribs here. This handle material is quite grippy. It almost feels like rubber. There's lots to hang on to. Same thing you can see there. Decent sized handle. This knife lives in my backpack, so because of the design of the sheath, I don't think it's as good as the EKA, because the EKA has the attachment point right up near the handle, so it balances better for putting it on things like your hip belt or on an actual belt. This knife here would be probably better off run upside down. I'm not a fan of that. The sheath works well, but it doesn't take much to get the knife out. I don't know whether that's just a bit of wear over time, but it's just not as solid as the EKA sheath. The weight, including the sheath, is only 116 grams, so it's very light, and it has a lifetime warranty under normal use and conditions. So obviously if you're using it as a chisel or anything like that, or a screwdriver, you're not going to be covered for warranty. With general use, it is covered. Great for backpacking or anything like that. Just a nice lightweight fixed blade with a decent handle. Finally, here on the left, we've got the big mother. This is the ESEE 4. It's a drop point fixed blade hybrid. So for hunting or for bushcraft, it is an absolute tank of a knife. Like when you pick this thing up, you're like, this thing means business. This ESEE has an overall length of 228 mil. The blade length is 115 mil. The blade thickness, 4.7 mil. So it's an absolute beast. The steel material is S35 VN. So again, like the Benchmade, you've got that harder stainless. A little bit harder to get an edge on, but once you've got an edge on there, it's not going nowhere. The handle is a fiberglass G10 3D laminate in grayscale and looks absolutely epic. Looks so freaking good. Quite beefy. It's got some texture on there as well. It's nice to hold. It really feels like more of a, it's definitely a crossover knife between survival, bushcraft, and your hunting. The sheath is a heavy duty molded plastic, as you can see here, with super positive, listen to this, and then that is not going nowhere. You've actually got to push quite hard to get it out, but super positive. Has a decent attachment point here to the sheath. Same thing as the Benchmade though, it's too low down to be of any real use for on a belt or anything unless you're running it upside down just because your balance is off. That may affect some people and how they want to run this knife. You've got this little lanyard here, like you can hang it upside down if you wanted to, and it's not going to fall out. You've got to apply quite a lot of pressure to get it out of that snap lock there. Just something I thought worth mentioning. The weight, including the sheath, is 280 grams, so it is significantly heavier than the other two knives. And the warranty is same as the Benchmade. It's a lifetime warranty under normal use and conditions. This knife, like the Benchmade, just lives in my backpack. It's my go-to for breaking down sambar. The edge just lasts a lot longer with that high-grade stainless steel blade. And when breaking down sambar, having this bit of extra weight for when you're making your cuts, like when you're skinning or breaking it down, all your bone joints and things like that, this knife is so nice to use. When I first got it, I didn't know how much I was going to like it because of the weight. It's not a knife I would normally use. Especially since using the EKA, that knife I just really gravitate towards. But since having this ESEE, it's done most of my butchering now. Does most of my cutting up and initial breakdown. The only time I really use the other two knives now is if this gets a little bit dull and I just want to swap knives out real quick without having to worry about sharpening. So this is my sort of go-to now for breaking down deer. I've kept quite a few stags with this, broken down quite a few deer with this, and it's just an absolute tank of a knife. And I think it's worth the weight. I think it's worth carrying around. If for whatever reason I ended up being stranded out in the bush somewhere, this is the knife I would want out of these three. It is a proper tank survivalist knife. You could, be cutting up your bloody sticks and kindling for firewood with this thing. If you had a rock just belting on the top, like it's just that tough and beastie. But for breaking down animals, it's pretty much my go-to. If I've got my backpack with me, this is the knife I'm getting out. If I don't have my backpack with me, the EKA is a knife I'm getting out. And if I have my backpack with me and this goes a bit dull, then I'm getting out the Benchmade. And that about wraps up. If you guys have any questions, just comment below.